my literary luminaries, and welcome back to another Top 5 Wednesday. This is one of the only times that not posting on the appropriate day is kind of biting me in the butt, because this was scheduled for yesterday, obviously, the 15th, which is the Ides of March. And I'm a theater person, so I've heard this phrase many times. But the topic of today's Top 5 Wednesday is books you felt betrayed by. Ides of March. Alas, we're doing this a day late, but let us not dally any longer. And without further ado, let's get started. Number 1. This was an interesting list to come up with. And I feel like a lot of these need better explanation than just saying what they are. Because the first one that I'm going to talk about is the final Harry Potter book. And it's not because of the epilogue. I don't have a problem with the epilogue. I never have. The epilogue is fine. What frustrates me about the final Harry Potter book is I understand that there is a need to have a higher body count, as it were. Like, this is the ultimate climax of the fight. Like, a lot of people are going to die. That's fine. And it should be people that we have some sort of connection to, because if we have a connection to them, it's likely the main character does, and that's going to move them off on their hero's journey stuff. However, Remus and Tonks, it frustrates me, because they get less than a paragraph, basically, and it's like, oh, and P.S., they're over there. Harry wandered that way and was sad. Like, these are people that are major influences in his life, and we get this much text being like, oh, yeah, well. And the explanation we're given, sort of, by the author, is that originally they weren't supposed to die, and Arthur Weasley was, like, a couple books prior, when he got attacked by the snake. How does that make... Okay, so you decided not to kill Arthur. Fine, decide to kill Remus and Tonks, but give them the necessary due. So frustrating. And after such a wonderful series that I know has its flaws, and so does the author, and blah blah blah, we're not getting into that. I wanted so much more. And the last book delivered the vast majority of it, but it's that little piece that has stuck with me all this time, and it's a knife. Ugh. Number 2. I read a book series for NetGalley. A book 1 and book 2. And I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to make sure I get these in the right order, because I feel like I might have them in the wrong order. Okay, it's not that I had them mixed up, it's that I combined the titles into one. Whoops. The first book is called The 6th Train to Wisconsin, and the second is Highway 13 to Manhattan. They're both by Courtney Heinz. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I absolutely loved the first book. Absolutely loved it. It wasn't afraid to not give us perfect endings. The characters were believable. I saw the difference, if character A and character B had different opinions on character C, I felt the same way as the character I had the viewpoint as, which is brilliant. So, I really liked character C when I was in character A's head, but when character B's head showed up, I hated them. It was a really interesting experience. It was really cool. I was really happy with it. NetGalley had released that one so that you could then review Highway 13, which was coming out at that point, I think. And the problem was it didn't expand on what was going on. It just kind of made it worse. And I understand from the small communication I've ever had with the author, I believe there is at least a book 3. And so I am assuming that book 3 resolves the issues, one would hope. But the problem is we're not given any indication in book 2 that there is anything good coming in book 3. It just keeps going down. And if you're going to do a series, I don't mind that, nothing gets better in book 2, but you need to be able to make your reader want to continue on with the story, to see what happens. By the end of book 2, I was so frustrated with the main characters that I don't care anymore. They don't deserve to be happy because they are ruining their own lives. And it's not even, it's talking about a relationship that's falling apart. It's not even the other guy's fault, as it were. It's their own faults. They are actively sabotaging their relationship. I have no sympathy for these characters anymore. I did, and now I don't. And it hurt because I really wanted to like it. I really, really like the first one. I'm keeping the books on my radar because I do think book 3 is eventually coming. I might read book 3, I don't know. It's hard when you get burned that badly, but we'll see. Number 3. This book frustrates me. I mentioned it recently, I don't remember when, but sometime on the blog, on this blog, the video blog, I talked about it. And I'm just gonna say the name of the book now because I'm so frustrated. The book is called Love Gone Mad by Mark Rubinstein. Oh my gosh, I was so frustrated by this book. This book is a walking cliche. Everything that happens in it is absolutely predictable and not interesting, and it feels like a high school kid needed to write an essay, and so he grabbed a thesaurus to sound smarter. I don't care what kind of light the street light is, but every time a street light was mentioned, it's the sodium lamp, or the sodium something lamp. I can't even remember. It's like, just say street light. Just say street light. There's something else. There's a cathode monitor television casting an aqueous hue over the... I was so angry because it's a really interesting premise. And it has the potential to be a really cool story. And the problem is we took a whole bunch of stereotype tropes, smushed them together, gave it a completely unbelievable antagonist, and sent it off into the world. There are very few books that I have been so frustrated by. It got a 1-star review. I don't give those out all that often. I think there's been 2, including that one. Maybe 3. It still makes me angry. Number 4. Speaking of books that got 1-star reviews, this is the other one. And it's The Chase, which is by Janet Ivanovich and Lee Goldberg. And the authors are important because that is why I felt betrayed by them. I'm a big Janet Ivanovich fan. Well, not big. I am a Janet Ivanovich fan. I've read some of the Stephanie Plum stuff. I remembered really enjoying them. So, when NetGalley comes along and says, hey, here's this author you like who is co-writing with some other author you've never heard of, but look, interesting story, I say, ooh, interesting story, Janet Ivanovich. This should be fantastic. No, it was awful. It is terribly written. I swear I could probably navigate the streets of LA, San Francisco, I don't know, somewhere in California where they were, because it was every time they got in a car, every single turn and street was indicated. And we got a dramatically, what's the word I want? In-depth description of everything the lead female character ate. I've never been so angry. Because with Love Gone Mad, as I mentioned in the last one, I didn't know that author, so I don't have anything of his own work to compare it to. I don't know if it's indicative of his writing or not. I know how Janet Ivanovich can write, and I know she's better than that. So I don't know if it's this other author, but I'm still proud of the review I wrote for that book, though. It's very clever. At times. I'm not usually very clever. And finally, number 5. This one is interesting because it's one of the few that I felt sort of betrayed by, but I don't have a way to fix it. Because I think they did it the best way they could. And that's Allegiant. Allegiant, the final book of the Divergent series. And while I'm sure these books have been out long enough that everyone knows what happened, I will not go into details. But the end of the book and what happens with Triss. I mean, I saw it coming from a mile away. It was the only thing they could do. And if it wasn't the only thing, there were two options they could take. And I'm glad they did not... I'm glad they took the route they did. Let's put it that way. I don't like it. I think it weakens the end of the book, and I think it makes everything else fall into chaos. But I wouldn't have wanted the alternative, because that would have been even more of a ridiculous trope and would have frustrated me even more. So I'm very torn on that one. I didn't like it, but I think it's the best they could do. But those are my top 5 books that I felt betrayed by. Et tu, Brute! Let me know what are some of yours. Let me know in the comments down below or on Twitter at KRyanFrey. As always, I love to hear from you. If you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. It is very much appreciated and very much helps. And hey, if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, why not subscribe? YouTube will very kindly notify you anytime that I post a new video, particularly if you hit the little bell icon, which should be every Tuesday and Thursday. But until next time, I shall bid you all adieu, and I will see you all on Tuesday for another Tuesday Talks. Bye! Ah. It's not that I have them in the wrong order, it's that I have the wrong title written down. Ah, okay. I see the problem. This is such a weird topic for me. I don't know. Maybe I've just been lucky. I haven't been betrayed by that many books. I don't know.